Take a deep breath and relax. Take another long, deep breath and relax. As I breathe out, I release the anxiety, stress, and tension of the day. As I breathe in the infinite energy of God. Long, deep, slow breaths. I relax. I move within. I go so far within that I'm way out beyond the universe, where I am one with all that is. I am one with the infinite. I am one with God. I'm one with the universal energy. Each and every one of us is a precipitation of that universal energy. So I am one with myself. I am one with you. I am one with my neighbor. I am one with what I think may be my enemy, but really is my brother and sister. For each and every one of us is a spark of God from everlasting to everlasting. And I let this spark set fire within me to exhibit my Godness in all that I think, say, and do. Let us take this thought into the silence. The spark of God is in me and exhibits itself through my Godness in all that I think, say, and do. And I say thank you. Thank you. Thank you for this time of silence. For I know that prayer and meditation are the most powerful forces in the universe. In prayer, I know my oneness with God. But in meditation, I know God's oneness with me. And I live and move and have my being in God's ever-present essence. And I say, thank you, God. Amen. And as I take another deep, long, slow breath, I come back to my beta state of being. And I am fresh. I am awake. I am attentive. There are wars and rumors of war. Now, then, through all millennia, from everlasting to everlasting. Amen. However, not all wars are physical confrontations, because we have wars of ideas that fight one another, which sometimes end up in a physical confrontation. But remember, an idea whose time has come will emerge and grow and forge forward, and nothing stops it. For the last 250 years, we have had world-transforming movements that have been occurring, especially in this country. Oh, let's go back about 250 years, and what do we find? First of all, we find the Battle of Lexington, Massachusetts, the shot that was heard round the world. And we remember Longfellow's poem, on the 19th of April in 75, and hardly a man is still alive who remembers the famous day and year of the midnight ride of Our Dear. Thank you very much. You're historically sound. Shortly after that, however, there was the French Revolution, just 14 years later. Monarchs tumbled, and the world order changed. A time had come. But when you get into the early 1800s, we had a spiritual and philosophical movement that was also revolutionary. Remember the Transcendentalists in the early and mid 1800s? Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry David Thoreau. I can remember at one point, somewhere in the 60s I think, one of my earlier beards, I was doing a search. I was exploring a neighborhood where I was considering buying some properties. And the woman came to the door where I was going to rent an apartment and said, "We don't rent to Transcendentalists." And I said, that's an interesting thought. I guess she thought I was a hippie. Of course, look at the period in the 60s. And I was, shall we loosely say, a little bit younger then. I was teaching high school. But still, she saw the beard, and that was the end of that. The Transcendentalists of the early and mid-1800s were really the forerunners of the New Thought movement of the late 1800s, of which unity is part. We go back and date ourselves to about 1889, even though it's a decided upon date, because movements don't always have a critical time, but you have to pick a critical time to say, this is our beginning. Just like a relationship. Does it start with the first time you met that person somewhere, or your first date, or fill in the blank? And unity was part of the New Thought movement of that period, and there aren't many of the groups left. There were several groups, but there's not many of them left. They've fallen by the wayside. About 3 major ones left. At that time, the concepts were new, they were radical, they were the Christ presence, the Godness within. This potential was most fully developed by the man we call Jesus. Jesus was a human being. We have the same potential that Jesus had. Jesus, we look at in unity as our elder brother and way shower. And he said, all the things I do, you can do, and greater. You can exhibit the Christ concept just as Jesus did. Set your mind and move forward. Charles and Myrtle has studied many religions and many philosophies. And they have taken the best from everything they found. We think some of their concepts are radical, at least they were considered radical at the time, considered revolutionary. They weren't. One of the major beliefs in unity is the law of mind action, which we state as thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. Together, thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. or as within, so without. Whatever is internal in you exhibits in you as you what you are. What you exhibit to the world is a manifestation of your mental consciousness. This is a universal concept. I hate to say it, folks. It was promoted by the Buddha, Confucius, Socrates, and these guys ain't new. Each of these three is from the 5th century BCE, sort of, give or take a little bit, because even though they were diverse geographically, Socrates from Greece, the Buddha from India, and Confucius from China, then they're all within 100 years of each other. But this is an idea whose time had come, and it manifested in the culture through different people. These are universal concepts. They keep cropping up over and over again. We're just the latest manifestation of that in unity. In conjunction with thoughts held in mind produced after their kind, we use in unity affirmations and denials, or I should say denials and affirmations, because you deny a non-truth within you and supplant it with a truth. Something we repeat over and over and over again. And I don't want to go there and say, fake it till you make it. But when you repeat something over and over, you begin to believe it. And when you believe it in your mind, it seeps into your subconscious and it is exhibited in who and what you are. Take, for example, Myrtle Fillmore. She was diagnosed with tuberculosis and the prognosis was 6 months to death. And she heard a wonderful lecture by E.B. Weeks, who said, "You are a child of God. You inherit godness. You don't inherit sickness." So she sat for 2 years in a chair with an empty chair across from her with a picture of Jesus in it. She talked to every cell of her body and said, "You are filled with health. I inherit health from God. My body is whole and healthy." She reflected on this 30 years later. Goodbye 6 months until death. I am filled with wholeness. I am filled with health. Every cell of my body is filled with health. My hand is not divorced from my ear. I am a whole unit. I talk to my whole body. When I am working with people physiologically, as I did when I worked for Norm Shealy, I start from their toes and work through their entire body because I am a unit. I cannot have a healthy hand and a sick spleen. It's all part of the same body. Very interestingly, when I worked for Norm Shealy, who had a health rehabilitation center in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Oh, how many know of Norm Shealy? How many know of Carolyn Mace? Carolyn Mace studied with Norm Shealy after I did, so I preceded her. But when I was there, my job was to, I had someone in my private office for 45 minutes each morning, and I did 2 to 3 hours of public stuff in the afternoon, where I had everyone in the center flat on the floor doing autogenic exercises. Autogenics is getting in touch with and gaining some control over your autonomic nervous system. We all breathe. We don't think about our breathing, but when we do think about our breathing, we can alter it. We can speed it up, we can slow it down. The fascinating thing is, if I told you that you can control the temperature of your body, you might laugh at me. Most people out there would, but you folks wouldn't. Because what I did with these patients first is, okay, now I want everyone to do this. I want you to close your eyes and put your right hand face up in your lap. and say, I feel the fingers of my right hand becoming heavy and warm. I feel the fingers of my right hand becoming heavy and warm. I will almost guarantee that every person in this room can feel the fingers of the right hand tingling right now, because you're good Unity students and you know that you can talk to your body. Okay, big deal you can, thank you very much. Big deal that you can talk to your fingers. But the point is, if you can talk to your fingers and they respond, then you can talk to your spleen or your heart or your kidney. And the interesting thing was, when they went into the biofeedback lab and they said, okay, now do what Larry taught you this morning, talk to your fingers and watch, they were connected to a temperature thermistor. And I could hear them saying, big deal. And what the fun part was, you watch them. And all of a sudden they were forced to say, I feel the fingers of my right hand getting heavy and warm. And when the dial on that temperature thermistor started changing, they said, oh, it's working. It's working. And they learned that moment that they could talk to their body and their body responded. Which meant that all these patients who were there by referral only and had internal problems and were on medications and all kinds of problems, if they could talk to their fingers and the fingers responded, then they could talk to the part of the body that had a problem and it would respond also. Revelation. We in Unity do this on a regular basis. Now, I worked for Norm Shealy back in the mid-70s, so you can see how long I've been doing this. And I will tell you that sometimes someone just out in the normal world will say, oh, I've got a nasty headache. Has anyone got an aspirin? I say, let's go outside for a minute. And I will sit them down. And I'll put my hands on their shoulders or their neck. And I say, relax. Take a long, deep breath. Feel the energy of the universe coming into your body. And know that that breath not only goes into your lungs, but stimulates the blood flow going to every cell of your body. Take a long, deep breath and relax. And I go through this for maybe 5 minutes and I say, how's your headache? And they say, headache? I don't have a headache. Now, recently studies have come out to show you the oxygen therapy. When you get oxygen into your body, it helps to heal all your problems. You are healing your body with these long, deep breaths of fresh air. When you can breathe out and get rid of all the stuff in your lungs, it makes room for new, fresh air filled with oxygen to excite your blood, to refresh your body, to heal you from the inside out. You don't need those pills. You need deep breathing. Tell that to someone on the street and get your reaction. Affirmative prayer is a major tenet of Unity. It was practiced by Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. The affirmations were said over and over and over and over and over again. We use affirmations to solidify concepts in our own mind, not to change the outer world, but to change us. I can't change any of you. I can only change me. But then, when people watch what happens to me, they sometimes say, how can I do what you do? And there is the link to spreading the word of unity to them from you. Not to preach, not to tell them that where they need to be on Sunday mornings, but the concepts that we espouse. Let me say that unity has made a greater change in my life than anything else that I have studied. And then I will apologetically say, I have done graduate work at 7 universities in a variety of fields. Unity has made a greater difference in my life than all of these graduate studies put together. I can train my mind, and my mind affects my body. My thought process is creative, and my future is contingent on what I think today. I create my future. You create your future. If you are not happy with something in your life, change how you think about that. I suggest you not think negatively about something, but reorganize that into a positive thought to create your own future. As Myrtle Fillmore did when she said, "Every cell of my body is filled with health and wholeness. I am well." I'm apt to say, I am a happy, healthy, radiant child of God. I am a happy, healthy, radiant child of God. Together, I am a happy, healthy, radiant child of God. This exhibits and exudes my Godness everywhere I go, with everything I do, and that affects whom I am with. When you walk into a room and there has been an argument and a lot of dissent, I will guarantee every one of you can feel that as soon as you walk in. And you may say, I think I'll come back later. Or you can even back into a room and say, ooh, this feels good. I like these people. And then you turn around to see who's there. Because you innately know through your subconscious. Our minds expand far beyond where our body is. Carolyn Mace has said many times that the night before you go somewhere, your subconscious goes there and selects your seat and chooses whom you're going to be among when you go there. And you go, and then you experience it, and you say, this feels familiar. You just don't remember you did it the night before in your subconscious. The mind is the most powerful force in the universe. The mind is all that is. God created the universe, not with her fingers, but mind. God thought the universe into being. Our head, our sixth chakra, our heart, our fourth chakra, combined express, push out through our fifth chakra, our throat. We speak truth. Sometimes as we speak, we also write. But we exude truth, which is a synthesis of our head and our heart. If we can love it, we can think it, we believe it, and we express it. Affirmations of truth are statements that we read over and over and over. Another major concept of unity is prayer and meditation. Prayer and meditation are the two sides of the same coin. Many people think of prayer as, I want. They think God is a vending machine in the sky. God is not a vending machine in the sky. You don't ask for things. You ask for ideas. Divine ideas to be manifest in your life. But the difference between prayer and meditation, prayer is your outward expression. You're talking to God, not entreating, but opening. then meditation is going blank and allowing God to speak to you, however that occurs. And it occurs in many ways. I sometimes say that when I was on faculty, I had a pool blocked from my office. And if I had things to deal with, I'd think about what are the concepts I need to deal with. And then I'd go swimming for 40 minutes between classes. The shocking thing was that whenever I needed an answer, the answer is always there. Because while I was swimming, that is a form of meditation, I went blank. When you plant a seed in the ground, you don't keep digging it up to see what happens. You know that in due time, that seed will germinate, and all of a sudden it pops through the soil, and you see it. Ah, there it is. It's the same thing with your mind. You plant the seeds of what you want to grow. And in due time, when that seed has materialized appropriately, generated, it will come to your mind when you need it. I've been meditating, well, I've been in Unity for 47 years. And I've been meditating most of that time. When I do it on a daily basis, which is usual, I find everything goes more smoothly. Does that mean I never have problems? Guess again. But it goes more smoothly and I can deal with them more easily. When I don't meditate on a daily basis, I say, oh, yeah, I can skip a day, or 2, or 3. But all of a sudden I realize things aren't going as smoothly as they used to. Ding. Just like when you are in a sport, you need to practice. When you're in music, you need to practice. And you need to do this on a daily basis to keep freshened up. We meditate to keep prayed up so that we are in tune with Spirit. Those who pray only when they think they need prayer don't get results. When you stay prayed up, you're right there. It happens because it comes through you. Prayer and meditation are ancient concepts. They are ancient practices. When I was in Greece, they pointed out to me the caves way up in the mountains. And they said the monks would go in here and pray for the people constantly and continuously. And people would bring food up to them. And if for a few days the food wasn't taken care of, they knew the monk was no longer eating food, and they bricked the hole up. But monks have been around ever since time began. These were Christian practices in the early 2nd and 3rd centuries. They were sort of dissolved. No one thought about them. If you look at the mid-1800s, prayer and meditations were not part of a church service. Even right now, today, in most major denominations, there's no such thing as meditation during the service. Unity's weird. We do this kind of stuff because we want people to feel the effect of communal meditation so they can go home and do their own private, personal meditation. You got to start somewhere. This was part of the radical concept of the New Thought denominations because they were bringing things out of the past. Nothing is new, it's just refreshed and given a new suit of clothes, a new concept verbally, conceptually. But the prayer and meditation of these monks over the centuries all of a sudden came back. For Charles, his direction came in dreams. I can remember teaching and the kids would say, what's going to be on our midterm? What's going to be our final? And I would naively say, I don't know. It hasn't come to me. What do you mean it hasn't come to you? All of my tests come to me in the middle of the night and my obligation is to write them out in the morning. They looked at me rather weird. But it's true. It is true. My test questions would come in the middle of the night, and I would write them out in the morning. And sometimes they were real doozies. But that's how I taught. I also got fired. But if I hadn't have gotten fired, I probably wouldn't be doing what I am today in unity. Because after 20 years in academia, we parted ways. You've got to practice, practice, practice on a daily basis if you're going to get in tune with yourself and get in tune with God. Get in tune with, I'm not going to even define what God is. That's another whole talk. But we can, if you are interested, I can do sort of the history of God, and it's going to be a shocker. But it makes a tremendous difference in my life, and I hope in your life, if you do this kind of meditation. Everything goes more smoothly. Answers come when they are needed. Prayer and meditation give me the ability to deal with my daily world constantly. In Charles Fillmore's 94th year, he wrote a magnificent affirmation. I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm, and spring forth with a mighty faith to do the things that ought to be done by me. I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm, and spring forth with a mighty faith to do the things that ought to be done by me. Together, I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm, and spring forth with a mighty faith to do the things that ought to be done by me. Thank you, God. Amen.